What does the disputed story of a bagel vendor, Polish sausages outside of baseball games, and a tabletop RPG called ShadowRun all have in common? Well, we're gonna go on a wild ride today as we learn about Seattle's favorite street meat, the Seattle dog, on Bob Appetit. For the Seattle dog, we're going to need half a sweet onion, 1 tablespoon of butter, 1 ounce cream cheese, 2 to 4 Polish sausages, depending on how much toppings you like to use, and toasted buns to match. And for later in this video, if you're willing to experiment with me, for the Street Samurai street meat, you're gonna need half a sweet onion, a 1/4 cup of soy sauce, 2 ounces of cream cheese, a teaspoon of wasabi, a pinch of sugar, 2 to 4 Polish sausages, and toasted buns to match. It's the late 80s. You're a vendor trying to sell food down at Pioneer Square in the heart of Seattle in the evenings, and you show up with bagels. But bagels aren't the craze like they are in New York City and other parts of the US. No, it's hot dogs. So what do? Well, if you're Hadley Longe, you're gonna go ahead and take that hot dog, bagel, and the only wet condiment you have, cream cheese, and slap them together. Now, obviously, a bagel wouldn't hold a hot dog very well, but a Bialy stick would. Now, a Bialy stick is like a baked bagel that's stretched out long. And these sticks usually came flavored. Poppy seeds, onions, and interestingly, in the late 80s and early 90s, poppy seeds weren't a huge seller because of, well, drug tests. And so now you've got a perfectly shaped bagel that you can slice open and put your hot dog inside of, and that's exactly what Hadley Longe did. These bagel dogs with cream cheese and onion were flying off the carts, and other vendors wanted in, but not all of them had the bagel backing that Hadley Longe had. But they did have hot dog buns. And so they jumped in and decided to use hot dog buns instead, and that's when everybody realized it wasn't the bagels people were after, it was the cream cheese and the onions. That tasted amazing. And in the 90s and early 2000s, as the grunge scene and the sports scene started to pick up, the late night bars and the after game vendors all started showing up with these cream cheese and onion hot dogs. And that's what allowed the Seattle dog to spread like wildfire throughout the city. And now, when the bars closed down in Capitol Hill, everybody finds their way to a nearby street meat vendor, expecting a cream cheese and onion hot dog, or more commonly, a Polish sausage. The Seattle dog is simple. Just take a tablespoon of butter and melt it down in a saucepan over medium heat. Throw in your onions with a sprinkle of salt and cook until golden brown, anywhere from 5 to 7 minutes. Take a toasted bun and slather some cream cheese on it. Nestle your Polish sausage or hot dog in the cream cheese and then top with your warm onions. In the futuristic setting of ShadowRun, whose timeline we're actually really close to, we see Seattle transform into a dystopian, tech-overwhelmed, violence-ridden, over-policed hellscape. The future is now. With the collapses of governments and the rise of mega corporations, we also see that Seattle has a cultural merger with Asian countries. And so I thought, what would happen with our street meat as it evolved with this cultural merger? Named after one of my favorite archetypes in the setting, I'm calling this the Street Samurai street meat. This time, add a little bit of oil to a pan over medium heat. Now, let your onions sweat for 2 to 3 minutes. Add the soy sauce and a pinch of sugar and let them cook down on medium heat for 8 to 10 minutes. You want the onions to caramelize, but don't let the soy sauce burn. While that's happening, take 2 ounces of cream cheese and a teaspoon of wasabi and fold it together. Slather onto your toasted bun and place your hot dog or sausage in the middle. Now top that with your soy sauce onions and boom! So good, you'll forget that the night errant's on your tail. Now that looked nice, but we all know that the food of the future, especially in the stuffer shack you found yourself, is gonna be highly processed. So let's take this dish one step further. To cook your stuffer shack street meat, prepare your soy sauce onions again, but this time let them cool completely. Once totally chilled, combine in a food processor your cream cheese, wasabi, and onions. Blend for 10 to 15 seconds. If your food processor is a little large, go ahead and double this recipe. You're looking for it to become a well-blended spread. Slather this spread onto your toasted bun, and if you've got the nuyen, top this with some sliced pickled ginger. It's interesting, when I set out to make this video, I was originally just going to make the street samurai street meat dog. But then I started researching the history of the Seattle dog, and it was so intriguing I had to delve into that. So I'm excited to taste first the Seattle dog. You have that juicy fattiness from the meat and the cream cheese, the sweetness from the onions. It just all melds together, and you got the warm and the cool. It comes together in such a surprising way. But now let's talk about the experiment. Going a step further into that ShadowRunner world, adding some elements of soy sauce and wasabi into our Seattle dog. Oh my gosh. We get a blast of nice salty flavor and a bit more sweet from the caramelization of the onions. Not to mention that wasabi gives a little bit of a kick right into this thing. I love this. This is awesome. You all need to make this. But now it is time for that sad fact that none of us can really afford the fancy dog in the ShadowRun world. We have to get our Stuffer Shack version. You know what? As a spread, the onion, wasabi, cream cheese mixture works out perfectly, because then you can use the top for some other toppings. And might I add, this ginger is a very nice touch. It adds a crispness and a little bit of crunch. Honestly, you could choose any one of these three and it would be a great hot dog event. Or choose all three. That's also good. And hey, the next time you find yourself sinless at a ShadowRun table, you better bring some snacks. All right, remember, always study at the dinner table. We'll catch you next time on Bob Appetit.